MRVL everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. We're going to talk about a few chart requests you guys have. I'm going to try to speed through them in a really quick video. I'm going to do it in an insane speed that's going to shock you. This is IWM. The Russell 2000 small cap, what you're going to see here is on the monthly chart, there's nothing really bearish about this at all. Basically, this candle over here, you see on the monthly, is basically backtesting this whole breakout level over here almost perfectly. There's really nothing bearish about it. Look at the 20-month moving average is expanding the upper Bollinger Band island price to go higher. Looking at 20-month moving average is still crawling up. Looking at the Ichimoku, you're still kind of bringing out this katana, still trying to have an expansion of taking the kitchen over here. These things happen in the beginning of a bull market. These things happen in the beginning of a bull market. These things happen at the beginning of a bull market. So I still think there's probably got ways to kind of go here. In terms of this bull cycle, it still have yet to really had a weekly candle that has really beaten this previous candle body over here. So technically it still hasn't really closed a candle above the all-time high, and it's still hitting a lot of resistance. But you also look at the weekly Ichimoku, it kind of just backtesting this Tengen over here. There's really nothing entirely bearish. All of this is happening on declining volume, by the way. There's really not much volume at all over the last 2 weeks with the candles kind of going down. So all these things are very promising. Now, I'm going to show you some indicators that I've drawn here. First of all, as I was saying, we're basically just back testing this whole level over here that we've dated back in 2021. And so far it looks like it might be holding. Right now it's basically essentially back testing 0.886 level, which it got rejected here multiple times and is right around the area $233. On top of that, if you're also getting rid of the fib level over here, you can see how the GAN is also given some really remarkable symmetry here. I got rejected here at this arc and horizontal, came back test the arc over here, pushed through this arc over here pretty convincingly. Right now we're just getting rejected here at the horizontal, which was the previous all-time high. It's probably just going to need to build up a little bit of energy, maybe consolidate sideways here a little bit longer before pushing up. But if it's able to push through, I really do think that it's going to grab it up to the arc right up here next, which is going to be around high 200s and low 300s, somewhere around there. And I was just kind of showing you too, right? In terms of the fib levels, you're talking about some of the higher levels, anywhere from 290 to 315, all these things are possible. So that's IWM. That was requested on that. Go through some of the other ones here really quickly. First of all, there's a stock here, ticker symbol AXXA, completely new to me. I have no idea what this is. All I'm going to show you is the monthly chart. It's at resistance. You can see that it's really getting rejected here by the monthly Tenken on the Ichimoku cloud analysis. And you can also see that if you pull up the 20-month moving average, it's also very negative sloping. It's also way underneath that. It could push all the way up and make like a 50 or 60 or 80% gain, and it could still get rejected by a very negative sloping 20-month moving average. So it could potentially be a pretty good trade, but I just don't really buy it yet. Now, on the other hand, if you look a little bit closer here on the weekly, you can see that, let me see here, I'm going to pull up the 20 week, 50 week, and 100 week here. And you can see that it's clearly still on a bear trend. Right now it's still trying to challenge the 50-week moving average, which is blue here. But you can see how it got rejected here is because it's so negative sloping. It's still very negative sloping, so it got rejected. And the 100-week moving average is still way above, right? So you have a lot of resistance above that has still not been resolved quite just yet. Also look at the Bollinger Band. You basically just got rejected here at upper Bollinger Band. And it's trying to hold the 20, but I'm not sure if it will or not. It's still a bear trend as far as I'm concerned. Now, I don't have confirmation based on the monthly Bollinger Band because the Bollinger Band is all the way down here. It could go down a lot further based on Bollinger Band analysis. The volume is coming in, which is promising, but that doesn't really necessarily guarantee you that there's a bottoming formation forming. But with the increasing volume together with the RSI, I'm going to look at this on a weekly time frame here. With the increasing volume over here, together with the RSI also turning more and more positive for the entire year 2024, with a bullish divergence that's been building up for more than a year, on increasing volume, it really does tell me that I think there's a little bit more bottoming behavior that's forming right now. I think there's a lot of bearish momentum that has been lost here. Doesn't mean that it's not going to make another lower low, right? But there is a lot of bearish energy that has been kind of getting really exhausted here, is what I'm seeing, especially in the context of having increasing volume. So I think that there is a potential that we're near bottom over here, but there's no guarantee. Anyway, maybe in MRVL, yeah. MRVL is a very interesting chart. I'm going to show you. Let me see. I have again. I think this is a monthly again. I'm going to have to get rid of the volume here so it doesn't look as busy. Get rid of the RSI here. You can see that, but I'm going to delete here the Fibonacci level. You can see that basically this scan level has some pretty remarkable market symmetry with the arc and arc and arc, breakthrough arc, backtest arc, push through arc, backtest arc. Right now we got to the next arc, right? Almost exactly right at the arc level over here, right? So we're at resistance. You know how people end up requesting charts? Usually it's because they ran up a lot right into resistance, and that's when people really get the most interested in. Right now, is there any other resistance besides the Gann arc? Well, it's getting close to the 1.236 over here. It did close a little bit above that. So who knows? Maybe it could end up pushing above to the next arc, the top of the arc over here, close to 1.414, around $143. Maybe it just gets up there, or maybe it gets rejected and come back test the previous all-time high. That's always a possibility. I would not buy resistance though. But this is a bullish chart, so if there's any kind of significant pullback, especially if it pulls back to the 0.786 here, which I doubt it will, most likely probably going to push back to the previous all-time high. It pushed down to 0.786 or even the 0.886, which I'm going to draw here for you. So if it pulls back down to $83.50 or $75.40, that would be a pretty immense buying opportunity to me, because this is a very nice bull trend based on looking at the monthly. You have a very nice Bollinger Band expansion. 20-month moving average has been back tested as support multiple times, and the Bollinger Band is really, really nice expanding. So whenever it's done correcting and done its thing, it's probably going to have some bullish continuation moving up forward, just because of how impulsive it is. Nike monthly chart. There are a few things that is really making me think that I think Nike has probably bottomed in July now, and I'm not saying this lightly. There's no guarantee, first of all, when it comes to bottoming, but there are a few things I'm seeing here that are telling me that maybe we're near a bottom. First of all, you are finally getting a little bit of a bullish divergence where price went down, and the RSI actually ended up stabilizing and kind of actually gone up here a little bit. You can see that on the monthly time frame here, a little bit is at least flattening, if not a little bit up, while price went down. Right, that's something that you want to see if there is even any potential for it to potentially be bottoming. You look at the Bollinger Band here. There's another thing that I like about this, because it usually what I call is like a low Bollinger Band double bounce. It bounced from a low Bollinger Band and it kind of tries to push through the low Bollinger Band on the other end. Generally, this is a very much of a nice kind of pattern that tells me, hey, maybe we're hitting a bottom here on the second monthly Bollinger Band bounce, right? So that's another thing that makes me feel like it might bottom. The other thing that makes me feel like with my bottom is look at the 2-month Ichimoku cloud, where it's finding support right there. You see how back in the early 2000s, it was, or in also like the late in 2000 in general, kind of back tested 2-month Ichimoku cloud for a very long time before pushing up further. Right now we're right at the 2-month Ichimoku cloud. We haven't touched the 2-month Ichimoku cloud for 2 decades, and right now we're touching it. So to me, I think that might potentially be a pretty decent buying opportunity. I don't know. That's just one possibility. Now, the other thing to look at is if I look at the Gann chart. I'm going to do this first without looking at the Fibonacci levels. You can see there's a very, very clean Gann. What you're seeing here is price kind of get up to here at this arc, and then it's got up to this arc over here, got resistance, and then pushed through the arc here, back test the arc, and right now, what are we doing right now? Right now, we're just kind of basically hovering around this arc and just kind of going down along with the arc. I think at some point, we're going to find support. If you ask me what kind of support we're going to find here, well, that's a little bit tricky, right? Maybe we're going to be able to find, some Fib levels that can tell us. The way that I'm drawing these Fib levels is these are on log scale Fibs, and I did the Great Financial Crisis top and bottom over here, you can see it gives some really remarkable levels in the current price action here over the last couple of years. You can see how it hit the 4.764 here perfectly, come back tested the 3.618. Initially you thought it was going to hold, push back up to the 4.272. You thought it was going to hold, but no, actually, let me switch to the monthly here, might be a little bit better. Push is 4.272. You thought it was going to hold, came back down, got rejected, came back down. You thought the 3.618 was going to hold like it did over here. Nope, broke down underneath of that. Where it's going to find support, 3.272. Because it's kind of broken down multiple fit levels already, I think it's maybe a little bit oversold. It's got a little bit more of a bullish momentum that's building up, and also is at the 2-month Ichimoku cloud bottom. So there's a lot of things that are telling me that maybe Nike has bottom, but obviously there's no guarantee. RXRX is got a very nice accumulation pattern to it. I'm gonna go to the weekly here and kind of show you what I'm seeing. It is at a lot of resistance, so on a weekly time frame, 100-week EMA exponential moving average, right? You're looking at the weekly Tsubichi cloud. You basically kind of hit the weekly Tsubichi cloud here almost perfectly as resistance, and the cloud is thick, right? Ichimoku is still underneath of that, right? If you're also looking at the Bollinger Band, you can see how price got way outside the upper Bollinger Band here. It just got rejected. Now you got a little bit of a bearish engulfing candle over here. Now, the only thing that is going to be, not everything is bearish about it, but sorry, in higher time frame, there's another thing that's pretty bearish. It's the 20-month moving average. Even though it's flattening, it's still serving as resistance. It needs to push above and get through, but it still hasn't yet. Now, what is bullish about this chart? Let's look at volume. There is volume being picked up here on a little bit of an uptrend here. That generally tells you, hey, maybe a bigger move is going to come. The other thing that's also a little bit more bullish is that is kind of reclaimed the bullish support band here. Flip it from resistance here, potentially into support, right? So right now, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's range bound. Still, you're range bound by something like the bullish support band, which is serving support, repairing some technical damage. On the other hand, you got some huge resistance up here above at the, for example, at the Tsubichi cloud here on the weekly. So it's stuck in a range, but if you zoom out, all it's really doing right now is still forming a diamond bottom. And over here, if you're looking a little bit more closer here, it really does look like it's trying to form a little bit of like a ascending triangle kind of look to it. These things are generally bullish. So it might end up consolidating a little bit further. I don't know how long it takes to kind of break out this ascending triangle here, but this is a bullish chart based on what I'm looking at overall. It's just trying to repair its technicals. I can't guarantee it's not going to break down and make another lower low though. But overall, I'm starting to see that it's stuck in a range. It's going to work out its technicals, and because there's increasing volume going on, I think most likely we probably have bottom over here. But it's probably going to keep on messing with you. It's just a lot of shorts over here, kind of like how SoFi was before it went up. SERV. Not a lot of price history. Let's go to weekly here. Weekly, you can see whenever it pushed up and then come back down. I drew a fib sequence here. It basically broke back up about the 0.382 and it got rejected at 0.618. It's completely expected, right? And if you ask me what it's going to do, it's hard to tell you because I don't really have much price history here. I'm leaning bullish though. Overall, because it is forming higher highs and higher lows over here for the last couple of months. And the other thing that I like about this chart is whenever this uptrend is happening over here is on increasing volume, right? So all these things are promising. The only thing I don't really like is that 0.618 is a very strong resistance level, and you're also basically getting rejected here at the Bollinger Band. And on top of that, the bullish support band is kind of like a little bit flat here, and it looks like I might want to come back and back test that a little bit more before pushing up higher. So there are a few things that are not quite favorable. It did almost back test the 0.382 though, so I don't think it has to necessarily come back and do that. But the risk level down here would be, going back to like $10.50, maybe even a little bit lower to the bullish support band, close to $10. The upside risk is already tested, is getting rejected. So maybe being a little bit patient on it. If you have a position, I think it's okay to hold. I don't know if I would necessarily get into this here. Maybe I'll wait for a little bit of pullback if it ends up running away for me, that's okay, right? But I just don't know whether or not the risk reward ratio is there. PAGS, I honestly, there are different time frames that you need to kind of look at to kind of take into consideration for a chart like this, because it could very well potentially be forming a double bottom. But I don't like the fact that it's gone down so hard on increasing volume. It does get me a little bit concerned, right? But we'll see how it goes. Maybe you're able to find some support over here, which is the low over here in the past. Now, what am I seeing that's special about this? Let me go and pull up the RSI here to show you. You got a little bit of a bullish divergence that's been building. You see how price kind of go down here for the last 2 or 3 years, and you see how the RSI has just been kind of trending up, right? So you got a bullish divergence that's been building up for a very long time, and that means that this bearish momentum is really decelerating by a lot. The other thing too, but I really don't like the increasing volume on the decline. The other thing though, on the other hand, if you're looking at the Bollinger Band, there might still be a little bit more room for it to go down, but it does have a little bit of a double tap low Bollinger Band feel to it, right? It didn't really quite touch it over here. Maybe it won't touch it over there, right? So it does have a little bit of double tap low Bollinger Band on the monthly, which I generally like those kind of setups. So with a little bit of bullish divergence with double tap, maybe you can consider this to be more like a capitulation volume. So maybe there's a possibility that PAGS is bottoming, but there's no guarantee. If you're going to enter, I don't know, because I still see on the weekly chart, it's still not entirely favorable, because on the Ichimoku, you can see how the Tenkan is still pushing price down lower. If you look at the Bollinger support band, you see how there's a pundit resistance, very negative sloping. So that's going to be your range resistance up here above, right? And so a lot of things are not necessarily favorable on a lower time frame, but who knows? Maybe on a higher time frame, this is actually going to be working out pretty well. Now in OW, I'm going to rely on this one more on the yen chart here, which I drew on the weekly. And what you're going to see here is that the weekly can here, if I shut off the fit levels here, it's been respecting these can levels very, very well, right? Arc here, arc here, arc here. We push through the arc like it's butter, so it's probably want to go up to the arc up here. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, are we at any kind of resistance? Well, we're getting close to some of the key resistance levels up here on the fit levels, but who knows? I think it just probably wants to gravitate maybe towards like 1300, somewhere around like February 2025. But it does look like it want to get up there. If it ends up breaking down underneath the angle, I think you're going to find some pretty decent support here, close to $1,000. The minimum, I think it would probably gravitate back up to $936 if it ends up breaking down. But the upside, you're talking about like maybe 1300. So right now it's kind of stuck in the middle because the momentum is going up, and because there's not really any significant concern with the weekly Bollinger Band being exhausted and being way outside. You also are only starting to have maybe a couple months above the upper Bollinger Band on a monthly, and the bull trend is very, very strong. So I feel like it's probably going to end up going up to the targets are around 1300, maybe over the next 2 months or so with the momentum. It's kind of what I'm seeing. No guarantees. I told you the downside risk, right? So no guarantees. But if you ask me, I think it's probably going to want to have some further bullish continuation. MDB. What do I think about MDB? It's a tricky one. I'm gonna basically, let me see. I think I did this on the monthly. So I'm gonna go to the monthly here. 180 and 10. What do you see when you see 180 and 10? What you're gonna end up seeing is some pretty decent market symmetry, where you have respect of this arc over here. You have respect of this arc over here. And you got rejected of the arc over here, broke down underneath the horizontal, and you're trying to back test it. Right now you're at the resistance of this, horizontal GAN level over here, almost perfect resistance, right? Have a little bit of trees at the top over here, not a good look. But if you ask me in terms of what I think, I'm gonna bring the fib levels back up here too. In addition to, why it's having a hard time breaking back above is it's not just again horizontal, it's also 0.618 from the cycle top to the bottom, which is once it gets underneath of it, it could be a little bit hard to break, but I think it would break down. I want to show you something. I want to show you the monthly Ichimoku cloud. That's also resistance. right? You're talking about 3 different resistances. You're wondering why it got rejected so hard. It's because you're at 0.618 resistance level, yet again horizontal resistance level, and you're underneath the monthly Ichimoku cloud. Of course you got rejected, right? You're not going to push for the first time. Let's see whether or not this might end up closing above the 0.5 pip level. If it does, it might end up building some energy and try and push through, get to the arc and go higher. But right now it's underneath some pretty key resistance here, so you might need to wait for at least maybe a couple of months before things turn more bullish and then, you know, kind of go up from there. But yeah, not yet, not ready yet. BKSY 20-month moving average has been reclaimed. This is a very interesting chart. 20-month average has been reclaimed. That's bullish, right? You're talking about, I'm going to zoom in here. You're talking about the weekly Tsubichi cloud is broken inside of it, and it's basically backtesting the bottom of it. Talking about the weekly, sorry, that was the Tsubichi cloud. This is a weekly Ichimoku cloud, broke inside, backtesting it, right? Had a bullish cross over here. And on top of that, if you go back to the monthly, and on the monthly Tsubichi, you can see how it really nicely turned the Tsubichi Tenkan here from resistance here potentially to support. So this is a bullish chart. There's really nothing that I'm really concerned about in terms of that, besides the fact that it has yet to make a higher high on the monthly. On the weekly, I would argue that it has made a higher high compared to here, and it needs to make a higher low somewhere, right? But on monthly, not yet. So maybe a little bit of a trend change here. I would still be a little bit more cautious in terms of where, you know, getting in, just because higher time frame, there's no guarantee yet. But if you ask me in terms of fit level, it probably wants to hit 15.2 eventually after it's done, you know, consolidating this big giant move here from like $3 all the way up to $12. You probably need some consolidation. Probably gonna hit 15 next after it's done that. But currently it's at a pretty sweet spot. I would say it's got a lot of these kind of, you know, support to it, and you can see how the 20-month moving average is really flipping from negative sloping to like flat, right? So yeah, pretty promising. KOSS, KOSS, KOSS Corporation. This one, I gotta say, I'm gonna turn off the Bollinger Band here. I'm gonna shut off the fit level here. It's stuck in a range. Why would I say that? It's stuck in a range, and this is drawn all the way from like 1985. Pretty nice, remarkable Gann symmetry, you know, where it kind of goes from arc to arc, and these angles also seem to have mattered, right? Eventually it got rejected here at the angle, got rejected at the top of the bottom of the arc over here, came all the way back down, got rejected or broke down underneath this angle, came all the way back down to this arc over here, pushed through because you hit the bottom of the arc, found support, and you're basically breaking above the angle, back testing angle over here. Yeah, so there's some bullish things that are happening because it's forming a bull flag. The only thing is it's still stuck in range. Why would I say that? Well, it's underneath the 0.786 over here, right? It's also above the angle over here. It's stuck in range right now. So it needs to kind of, you know, battle. What it needs to do is to kind of battle out of this zone because it's really stuck underneath the 0.786. You can see that on the weekly a lot more clearly, right? Now, what are things to look at this is you have a nice Bollinger Band squeeze here. You have the Bollinger Band, or you have the Bollinger Support Band that's kind of being reclaimed. It kind of broke out of it over here. This looks kind of like GME, by the way. You basically have break through the Bollinger Support Band, back tested it once and back tested it twice, building up a lot of energy. Bollinger Band is squeezing, so big moves starting to come. You know which way I think it's going to go because of this higher high and higher low, higher high, higher low. It's probably going to form a higher high, right? That's kind of based on probability speaking. I think that's probably what's going to happen. The other thing too is if you look at the Ichimoku, it's also kind of stuck underneath resistance here on the weekly Tenkan, right? Multiple attempts at trying to break above, but so far I favor upside. I do worry a little bit about this kind of like descending triangle look to it. And I do worry about having so many wicks above they might end up breaking down before going up, right? This is entirely possible. Look up the descending triangle pattern. Usually whenever you have this kind of descending triangle, it breaks underneath through the floor. But when you do that, sometimes it grabs liquidity, back tests on the zone over here, maybe around like $5, 5.3, 5.5, grab some liquidity before pushing up, right? The weekly cloud over here is pretty thin, so you know, not unfavorable for KOSS. All right, what else do I have? Reddit. RDDT, bullish chart, obviously. The question is not so much whether or not it's bullish or not. The question is whether or not it's going to keep going. Let's see. Pull up the GAN here. What happens? Well, let's get rid of the FIB level here first. Yeah, it hasn't been around for that long, so I'm using a weekly chart here with a nice GAN. Push through this GAN level, back tested the arc in the horizontal. So that's promising, right? What's wrong with it then? Is there any concern? Yeah, there is. It got rejected at the 2.272 FIB level here almost perfectly, right? Back test this area, so it's probably going to end up range bound here before breaking through 2.272. Where's it going to go? The arc above around 210 to 217, or it can break to the 2.618, which is around 230. Bull trend, not going to bet against it. I do think that the RSI, if you look at the RSI, yeah, initially have a little bit of bearish divergence, but it looks like it wants to break above, and it wants to maybe go higher on bearish divergence for a little bit longer. So I'm not worried about Reddit getting stuck here and just kind of plummet. It's breaking through an arc over here. I think it's probably going to gravitate up towards the arc, or maybe even a key FIB level here, 21618, which is around $230. That's what I'm thinking. Now, another stock that I was asked about, BARK, BARK. BARK is hitting resistance. I don't think there's any doubt about that. If you're looking through the IPO price and you do that all-time high to all-time low, draw a FIB level, you can see that it's hitting the 0.382 almost perfectly. You have some increasing volume on the way up, which is always promising, but you have resistance. Would I buy resistance? Probably not. I'd probably end up staying away from buying at resistance, maybe wait for a pullback, but if it pulls back, where's it going to pull back? Probably this horizontal zone over here around like $1.80, maybe somewhere around there. Does it have to? No, it can just keep breaking through and keep going. But I just don't like, generally like, you know, to buy bearish, I don't like to buy at resistance, sorry. Going to the monthly here, Bollinger Band, what is it doing? It's a bull trend. I think it's going to keep going higher, but it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band here initially, so that's why I came back down and touched up a Bollinger Band. And right now it looks just kind of right where it's supposed to be. 20-minute moving average curling, negative sloping to positive sloping, serving as support. Very, very nice look. Slightly increased volume, very nice look. I think that it probably keep on going. If you're interested in the stock, I think it's okay to maybe buy here, or if you want to wait for a little bit of pullback to buy a little bit lower, that's fine too. Maybe DCAing here, but I think it's a beginning of bull trend and it doesn't look bad at all. The other thing too, if you look at the monthly Ichimoku, you can see it had a bullish cross at the Tenkan Kijun. It looks like price wants to push up a lot higher. Could have back test, come back down, back test the 1.8 level at the Tenkan. Possible, right? But regardless, this is a bull trend. Let's see, PNG, Kraken Robotics. I was asked this because it has like a 6-month push up here non-stop, right? So the question is it going to keep going? The answer is I don't know, because there are some mixed messages here. The reason why I say that is I drew this GAN here on the weekly, so I'm going to stick with the weekly. I'm going to first delete the FIB level and show you what I got. Well, you can see how this GAN has great market symmetry rejected here at the arc. Push through the arc over here, went up to the next arc, right? And right now we spent about 5 weeks trying to break above, and we finally broke above, close to a week above the arc, right? That's promising. Does it mean that it goes to the horizontal line up here around 4.6? Maybe. So what's wrong with this chart? Well, there's nothing if you look at it again. If you look at the Fibonacci retracement though, from this high over here to a cycle low over here, you can see that where did price get rejected this week? Perfectly off the 1.618 FIB level. Perfectly off of that. Now, because of that, I think that there is going to be a lot of bullish continuation to come. I just don't know whether or not it's going to push through 1.618 like butter. There's a possibility that it could do something like this. Would correct sideways, go down, back test the arc over here, go sideways for like 2 months before pushing up and trying to challenge that again. I can totally see that happening here. Does it have to do that? No. But I do think that there's going to be some bullish continuation because you're breaking through an important arc. But you also at a very important resistance level up here above. So be careful. If it breaks above, then you're talking about like $5, right? But it could be a while before it gets there. And that's PNG. WWR, maybe close. I don't know. Maybe close to bottom. There are a few things here that tells me that maybe we're close to a bottom here. The reason is not because of volume, because there's no volume here at all. Generally, I like to see if there's any potential bottom. I like to see volume to come in, but there's no volume here at all. So what makes me think that we could potentially be bottoming here? Well, first of all, you look at the monthly Bollinger Band. I love this where it kind of bounced from one side to another. And you also have the potential reclaiming of the 20-month moving average from resistance here to support, right? We're finally touching it after a long while. So that's promising. And then on top of that, if you look at the RSI, you can also see that there is a lot of bullish divergence that's been building up for a long time. Even though the price can go down from 2022 to 2024, you have increasing RSI, right? A lot of bearish momentum has already kind of been eaten up, and now you're building up some bullish momentum here. The only thing is you're going to have like these bearish divergences here, so you're going to have a hard time just kind of push through. It probably would take time to kind of reverse this whole downtrend over here. But I think that there are a few things that is telling me that, hey, maybe we're bottom. Again, number one is the bullish divergence on the monthly here. Number two is the Bollinger Band, how it kind of got close to one side and bounced to the other. These are usually pretty decent suggestion. Hey, maybe we might bottom. No guarantees, right? Absolutely no guarantees, but maybe. AUR. And again, chart drawn here. First of all, if I just not look at it again here, it's a bullish chart. 20-month moving average up, Bollinger Band expansion, right? RSI not overextended on the monthly, only around 60. Very nice. If you're looking at the GAN level here, and I drew this based on weekly, you can see that if I get rid of the FIB level, you can see how it gives some really good market symmetry from arc to arc. We have gotten rejected here at the arc, but we were able to push through, back tested it, right? So where does it end up going? I think it's probably gonna go up to like maybe $10, 10.5, 10.8, somewhere around there. That would be like the next natural level for it to go, right? And if you're looking at the significance of this whole confluence zone over here, why did it spend like 3 months right around this area? Reason why is because it's confluent of the arc over here as well as the 0.618. Broke through that, came back down, back tested it. Is probably going to go up to the next level. 0.786 is around $10. It could overshoot that, hit the arc up here, get rejected. I'm trying to figure out some things here underneath the arc before pushing through. That's kind of where I'm seeing here with AUR. RVPH. Going to the weekly directly, looking at Ichimoku, it got rejected. Right. On high volume, super high volume, got rejected. Looking at the weekly chart here, and I think this is a very, very interesting look to it, because the same thing has happened just a couple years ago in 2022. You have the 20, 50, and 100 week moving average all sloping to the bear side, but you're having some really impulsive price action with some huge volume coming in to try to reverse the trend, trying to get back above of it, right? This thing just looks like it's range bound actually. It's trying to reclaim 50. I think this is very, very similar to where it was over here, right? Got rejected at the 50 potentially. Over here, maybe not. If we're able to get above the 50, I think most likely it's going to spend a few weeks above that, maybe breaking down underneath that a little bit. Wait for a 20-week moving average to come up here again to catch it. Regardless, it's probably going to be another like 2 months before it challenges the 100-week moving average like it did over here, right? Very, very similar fractal that I'm seeing between the two. I think it's probably going to work out. VST, this is obviously a bull trend. The weekly trend tells you so. I just want to kind of zoom out here a little bit. This is a weekly GAN that I've drawn. It is very important to kind of look into this market symmetry, right? How beautiful is this arc over here? 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 I'm just going to zoom in here to kind of show you how beautiful is this arc rejection over here, right? And then you push through, you had a bullish engulfing candle, push through, get inside the arc, and right now you're just basically back testing the arc over here on relatively low volume this last few weeks, right? All of these are very, very bullish look to VST. I like it. And if you are talking about another way to look at VST, there's another thing that I like about VST is that the Bollinger Band is still expanding. Look at the lower Bollinger Bands all the way down to the negatives. All the way down to the negatives, right? There's no sign that it has to come back all the way back up, right? So the trend doesn't seem to necessarily be exhausted quite just yet. There are some signs of exhaustion. If you look at the RSI, you can see how it's going up on declining RSI, right? The Bollinger Band still tells me that there's maybe a little bit more juice to go. The RSI is telling me, hey, be careful, this bull trend may end in about a year. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. So we'll see. No guarantees, but you are having some bearish divergence here. It can keep going up on bearish divergence. It doesn't matter. But it's starting to kind of exhaust this trend. I would say monitor the lower Bollinger Band for this one. If you see lower Bollinger Band coming back from the ground to a visible levels up here, that's when I'll be like, maybe I should be a little bit more careful. LYFT. What is LYFT doing? Putting up LYFT here is reclaiming the 20-month moving average from resistance to support. This is a pretty decent look to it on the monthly, right? On top of that, if you look at Ichimoku Cloud, you had a little bit of bullish cross over here too. I mean, price trying to break through the Tenkan Kijun, back test the Tenkan Kijun line over here, trying to keep the bullish cross. Not quite yet, but it is trying, right? The only issue, I guess, on the lower time frame, you might kind of go crazy a little bit. It's done nothing on a lower time frame. It's just been oscillating around the Ichimoku Cloud. It's just been oscillating around the support band. It is trendless. I like the fact that it's back testing the support band though, on maybe a little bit of higher volume, but still relatively low volume here compared to this capitulation over here, right? So to me, I think there is a good chance this time, because of how it looks on the higher time frame here on the Bollinger Band, the 20-month moving average, there's a good chance where you might go down a little bit more, maybe even to like $13 or something like that. But it's really reversing the trend from negative sloping to positive sloping. And the last 3 months, 1, 2, 3, was on increasing volume. You also had a big giant hammer, bottom candle over here. A lot of really, really beautiful things are happening here. I think it's probably going to keep going up, but it might take its time because it just looks a little bit trendless here on a lower time frame. That's all. One final one that I think was requested of me was CART. Oops, CART. If you're looking at CART, I'm going to zoom in here to the weekly first. I'm going to get rid of the volume here. And what you're going to see with the Bollinger Band is that, and together with the support band, you can see that it's still bullish kind of look to it, even though it does have a head and shoulder. Like everybody's going to be able to recognize this head and shoulder, right? Does it ever go down? No. I see plenty of these head and shoulder go into a rising moving average and end up holding over here and just keep going higher. You really have to take it in context, right? So to me, I think there's a possibility where it's just going to bounce over here and just keep going a little bit higher from here. And if it breaks down underneath, that's a different story. But I generally like rising moving averages, like a rising support band to push price up higher. I think that's possible. If it breaks down, that's okay. Sometimes it just kind of oscillates around here, maybe around 30. It's going to oscillate back. That's some level up here. That's okay, right? But overall, higher highs, higher lows, bull trend, no doubt about it. The other thing too is if you're looking at how it's behaving, once it kind of breaks through the 0.86 and back test it, you know it's going to hit some of the upper levels here above. It sure got really close to 1.236 here. Come back down, it did break down the previous all-time high here. Does it mean that it's graphically back up to the 0.86? It really looked like a head and shoulder pattern here if it does that. Would it do that? Maybe. And if it does that, is that the end of the world? No, because the support band is just right there, right? So yeah, that's going to get a lot of people scared though. Head and shoulder, row going down further, but I favor that it holds here. In general, if things are still underneath like the 0.786 or underneath the 0.86, things tend to still kind of consolidate sideways here a little bit longer. If you're breaking above the 0.786 or breaking above the 0.86, things generally look a little bit more bullish. And even though the backtest can be extremely brutal, it can look like things are breaking down, it doesn't necessarily have to. Anyway, just went through a bunch of chart requests. Hopefully you guys are satisfied. Have a good one. Bye.